Hello, this is Adrian with Clip Software. Before we get started with the video, I do want to provide a quick disclosure. The customer information on screen, including phone numbers, email addresses, and any other form of information is not legitimate and has only been created for demonstration purposes. Enjoy the video.
Likewise, for snow removal, in addition to scheduling related issues, there are some pricing issues. It's not uncommon for you to charge a different price point based on the number of inches, for instance. You might have one price for 1 to 3 inches, a different price for 3 to 6, and yet a third price for 6 to 9 inches. So how do you manage that in the program? So those are two of the main areas. We'll focus on the scheduling, and then we'll spend more time on different ways to manage pricing issues. And then finally, we're also going to look at how to use the Clip ITC app on a phone or tablet for snow-related services, because the app gives you some features that really you don't easily have, and well, you do have, but not in the same way in the main program. Okay, so the three topics: scheduling, pricing, and the app. Now, scheduling, you've got basically two options. So we're going to look at a customer to illustrate this. So we're going to come into our customers and we're going to find Adam Bradley. So here's Adam Bradley. I select him. And then here's his account, and I want to look at snow removal. So we come over here to navigate to the snow removal service. So here's snow removal, and it is set up to be what I would call date-driven. That means it is set to be on the schedule today, the 5th, and it will reschedule 1 day between jobs. What that means is that this job appears on the 5th. You don't have to do it on the 5th, but you just know that all your snow removal jobs, and we'll use him as an example for how you can set up all of your customers. So all your snow removal jobs are scheduled to appear on the 5th, and this make it at least 1 day between jobs means as soon as you do this job and finalize it, it will reschedule for the next day. And because you could plow on any day of the week, we have all the days selected here, and this would be reflected in your pattern job for snow. We have all the weeks of the month, again, because during the winter you could plow any given week during the month. And then we have the months where you normally plow, say in this scenario, November through March. Ignore this over here for now. That's going to be another topic we'll cover in a bit. So for the scheduling, we have this job then, and you can look at the view schedule to see how this plays out on a calendar. So that's how it is scheduled to be done. Okay, so a couple of highlights here when it comes to the snow removal. You have a known date here, so you know if you look out the window on the 10th and it's going to be snowing, you can come into the daily here, get work, and even if it's a future date, you can say, okay, it's going to snow today, so I'm going to get work for the 10th. And you'll notice then here would be those who have the date scheduled. So here are some back who have got scheduled for the 6th. So here would be the jobs, and we look at Adam Bradley specifically. And there he is on the 5th down here, snow removal. So we now have your snow services all will show up on that date, and you record them, and then they get scheduled for the next day. So that's one way to do this, is basically you just have this always on the schedule throughout the entire winter, and then when it actually snows, you can get work and see them and record that they are done. Okay, so that is how you can do the 1 day between jobs. Another way that people manage this is this next visit date. So we have a next visit date of the 5th. and then it snows, but it's snowing on the 10th. Well, one thing you could do is you could go, and we'll come in here through pattern jobs. Now my pattern is actually set up to be a zone job, which is our recommendation. We'll see that in a moment. But for now, you could come to pattern jobs. You could go into the snow service here. Now, if you use this method, your schedule is going to be set up, like we talked about a moment ago. You have it set to automatic. You have the date for the 5th. You have all the days checked, all these, and then you have the months. But what you can do here is you can then come in and say, oh, it's snowing today, or it's snowing on the 10th. So you come in and you change this to the 10th, save it. Then if you click this box here corresponding to the date, so you change the date and save it, then check this box. And notice down here, you've got update all jobs down in the lower right-hand corner. And if I click update all jobs, it then schedules this snow service for the 10th. I go in, refresh the workbank for the 10th, and go about the normal functions of recording what was done in Clip. So that's a slightly different option than having the make it at least one day between jobs, but it serves the same purpose. Again, the mystery, so to speak, of snow is you don't know when it's going to snow. And when you do find that it's going to snow today or tomorrow, you can then use this method to assign the snow removal service to that date when it's actually going to snow. Okay, so those are two ways you can do scheduling. Date with one day between jobs, and basically in that scenario, if it snows today and you work and you record it, it's still in the workbank data tomorrow. If it doesn't snow for a couple weeks, the jobs are still sitting there ready to be put on the route sheet again and gone out and done and recorded. The second is by coming in, and when you know of the date it's going to snow, most likely, you can come in into the pattern, change the date, save it, check the box, and click update all jobs, and it will push that date out to all of your snow removal services. Now, what we recommend, though, is what's called zone scheduling. And in zone scheduling, you come into the job and you turn it from the schedule type automatic to zone, and you save it. Okay. Now, a zone is basically a way of giving the user control as to what he wants to populate on the schedule. And so we've got the snow removal job set up as a zone. Now, zone can also be a literal geographic area where you provide services, but we're not going to really touch on that because it's a bit, although it does happen where you may have clear snow bands in your area. For instance, my daughter moved to Buffalo, New York recently, and she lives on Grand Island, and a couple weeks back, she got just, maybe an inch or two of snow, but another part of Buffalo got a couple of feet. So there's clear snow bands, but if you have questions about that, shoot me an email. But what we've done is in the pattern job for snow, we've created it as a zone schedule. Okay, now what does that mean in practice? Well, what that means is you would come in to the daily section here. And let me just kind of roll this back. So today's the 5th. So let me do get work here. So again, we just have a couple of jobs for the 5th that were date driven. Okay, now you notice here you have an activate zone jobs button. So what you can do is you come here, and for the zone jobs you have, it'll show what crew has zone jobs available. So in this case, I'm going to do crew 5, my winter crew, crew 7, another winter crew, and then crew 21. Okay, so I've selected 3 crews and I hit activate. And so what it's doing is going in and finding those jobs that are for crews 5, 7, and 21. So there we have the jobs, and we'll talk about this in a bit. A lot of jobs for crew 7. So let's scroll all the way down. Boy. Okay, and then 21. Plus, we've got those 2 date-driven ones still on the schedule. So that's how you activate a zone job. And so you can grab the jobs based on the crew assignment, or another way to grab zone jobs would be to activate the zone jobs based on a job number here. So you could come down and activate, where was it back here? Sorry. Job 6, snow removal. So you've got some different ways to grab those. And likewise, if you need to clear this out, let's say the snow event doesn't materialize, you can come in here and we'll just check all and hit deactivate. And now it will drop them all from the schedule. So this is one way to do it, which we recommend because, again, snow is not predictable. Dates might get off and you might miss something, but if you can grab it by the zone, then you're in good shape. All right, so that covers scheduling. Now, the next is going to be a little more involved, and that's pricing. And specifically, if you charge per visit, just one flat charge, and that's pretty simple. You just say, okay, $80 to plow. We were there twice today. It's $160. So those are straightforward, and those are most analogous to how you might price out mowing or other services you do. But if you have different price points based on different inches, there are 3 ways to manage that. One way is to set up different pattern jobs to reflect those different inches. So we come to patterns, pattern jobs, and we come down here and we have snow removal 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and we might, 9 plus, for instance. So you have 3 different price points. And then in a given customer, you can then add those 3 services. So to illustrate that, let me come back here to daily and activate my crew 7. So those are, and the reason I have crew 7 specifically for this scenario is just because I want to easily find those to focus on the class. You would not have a specific crew for those that have 3 different jobs necessarily, like I'm going to illustrate. So we come to daily, get work, and then I want to do activate zone jobs, and this is going to be crew 7. Although let me show you something. If you anticipate a light snowfall, one thing you could do is you could come in here and you could say, okay, I am going to only activate 1 to 3 because they're not anticipating much snow. So you hit activate. And now here is the 1 to 3 inch jobs on the schedule. So that's relatively simple. So you can not only grab what's that's going to snow, but you could also grab then the particular level that you anticipate, and then you can go through the record work process. Again, the record work process, we will look at that a little bit, but basically it's the same as recording work for mowing or cleanups. If you can choose to record times or not. So that's one option of the 1 to 3 of setting up different jobs, is you're able then to, and if you can anticipate what jobs you have to activate, you can just activate the ones for that level. And then again, you can, if you were mistaken, if it was really, 4 to 6 inches, you could come here and you could deactivate these. and then activate the 4 to 6. So that's one of the conveniences of having them set up as different jobs, is that you can choose what you actually want to be looking at when you are populating the workbank, and also when you are recording work as well. So there's if you do the 3 to 6 inches. All right, had some more folks join us. Got to mute a couple people. Okay. So that's another way, is doing the 3 to 6, 1 to 1, setting up 3 different jobs, or however many different jobs you have based on the number of inches. So just for those who are late arriving, we're looking at one way of managing if you charge by different price points is under patterns and pattern jobs, setting up 3 services, or setting up services reflecting those different price points for you. Okay, so that's one way to manage it. And this has some pros and cons. The con would be if you came in here and you wanted to activate all of the different possibilities here, then you're going to end up with a pretty large workbank. Oops. So we're doing all of our possible levels, 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 plus. But see, this is taking a while because it's 1,000 different jobs in here, with each customer having 3 or 4 jobs per account. So that's how this can get a little cluttered if you do it this way. Now, another way to do it is to set up materials. Let me go ahead and deactivate these so we can clear this out and focus on materials. I keep doing that by mistake, activating rounds when I want to activate zones. So I'm going to come to daily. Let me deactivate these. Okay, materials are set up under customize. So one option, besides having 3 or 4 or 5 separate jobs for the different numbers of inches you might actually plow, you can come to customize and material. And then in material, you can have 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and you could have 9 plus. So here are the different materials. Now, admit a couple more people coming in late. Okay. Hold on a second. All right. So you've got the different materials. Then what you would do is you would come in here, and these are actually, I've got assigned to crew 5. So we're going to come in here. And again, just this exercise in how you activate zone jobs. Okay, so here are customers where I have set up their snow removal by to track it with materials. Now, what you're able to do is, with this scenario, we go back to patterns and pattern jobs. Come to snow removal here. And what you're able to do is, within the pattern, you can come in and you can add the materials. So I have these 4 different levels here. I've added by clicking add material, and it takes you to your list of materials. You choose what you want to add, then add it. So in this case, we've got these, and we have the quantity set to 1. Now, 1 here, this can be a little confusing potentially. 1 does not mean the number of inches, just that if you are plowing 6 to 9 inches, that you're doing 1 of those. You're not doing 4. You're just doing 1 job. It happens to be 6 to 9 inches with whatever price point you put within the customer. Now, having added these materials, if you check the box here, you can select all and hit update all jobs, and it will push those materials out to that job. In this scenario, the job is my snow removal service. And if I were to go into a particular customer, so we'll go into Heather Smith's here. So let's come to customers. Heather. Here's Heather Smith. I come to the snow removal service. Notice I also have these set up in her job, just different scenarios. So here now are the materials. And I can come in, I hit edit, and I then put the charge for 1 to 3 inches. So you can put your cost here if you want to, but for Heather, this is going to be $35. Let me save it. Close. And then we go into the next one, 3 to 6, and the same thing. Now, the setup for snow removal can be kind of time consuming. So that's one of the drawbacks. Oh my, that's interesting. I hate it when that happens when I'm having a class. Okay, let me edit this again. Okay, so that's how it works then for adding. For setting your price points. Okay, now I want to pull this through a little bit so you can see how this plays out when you get to the invoicing part of the billing, because what this is going to do, and I probably should have focused on this a little bit. So back in the materials, one thing you would have set up in material is we hit edit here. The material allows you to do a setting where you can charge the material on the invoice. Now, if you integrate with QuickBooks, this is phrased slightly differently. I think it says transfer and charge this price, but you want it set to this because in the job itself, within the customer, the charge is set to 0 because the pricing is down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to record then this job. So we're going to come back to the daily section, and we're going to go to record work, and it's Heather Smith. And whether you record times or not, got to do the crew for this, update this. Okay, so here's Heather Smith. So if you want to record times, you can hit the pencil, do Y, 8:02 to 8:19, and save it. Now notice over here, and you don't have to save it first. You could do it. You can do adjust anytime. So here's the material column. So if I come here to adjust, what I want to do is I want to then edit. Now there's you can put quantities in ahead of time or not. So we're going to do, I should have probably not put those in. So, but you can put this to 0 what you didn't do. Yeah, so when you set up the materials, set them up at 0 quantity as a default to save you from having to do this. Because what you want is the actual material, the actual level of inches that you did selected. No, so let me get rid of this too. Okay, save. All right, so we did 1 to 3 inches for her. And then we go ahead and hit close. Now, one thing too is, let me hit adjust, because I changed her account and didn't refresh the workbank again, so it didn't update the cost. So this is, again, a step that you should not have to do. So the price there was $35 for that. Okay. All right, so then you check it off, mark selected is done. Then you would also check it off and hit finalize. Now you'd go to invoice, just again to pull this all the way through. Print edit individual. Heather Smith, here's the snow removal. Now you're saying, okay, there's 0 price here. What's going on with that? We'll see in a moment. We hit print. And so here's what the bill would look like. So here's snow removal, snow additional inches, $35. So it's billing her out based on the inches we selected. Now again, this was, she had a credit on her account which was applied to this, but that's a different issue. So let me kind of back up because that was a little rougher than it should have been. So what you would do is within the customer, you would set up add the materials, and you would set this to 0, because what you're going to do is when you record, you're going to choose the level of inches that it actually was using that quantity field. So just get rid of a couple more of these. So this is part of your setup. Again, I apologize that I did not get the number right here. So that's causing me some extra work, but that means it'll cause you less work. Okay, final one, last one. Okay, so we'll do Heather's service again. So what I'm going to do is we got this set then. I'm going to put this job back in the workbank. Come back to the record work section. So here are the jobs. I'm going to see if I can find Heather. So there it is. So I'm going to hit. Now, if you don't record times, then what you can do is you can click here, hit mark selected as done. Still, you can come to adjust. So here they are with a quantity of 0. So this one was 3 to 6. You just edit the actual, put a 1 in there. save it, close, close, check it off, finalize, and it's ready to be billed, again based on the number of inches. All right, so that's the second scenario, which is you set up materials to reflect the different number of inches you charge for, attach those to the pattern job, and from the pattern job, then add those to all update all customers with that snow removal service. And then when you're recording work, that's when you would record the actual inches or actual level done. And in the material, you can display the material on the bill. So that's what would be the charge for the customer. Okay, now the next one is what's called a job change. So that's done under patterns and pattern job changes. What this enables a user to do is to set up one job. So we've got one job called snow removal, but we have associated with this the different potential levels. So 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 inches. So this is how you'd set up. You would choose the pattern job for which you're going to put the different numbers of inches. And then you would come in and add those. So we're going to add another one just to show how. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do snow removal residential. Now let me see. Actually, I'm going to do Bobcat. So let's say you've got a specialized piece of equipment that you charge for. So you hit process, and that's how you would add it to the job change. Okay. Now, what you would do at the customer level is that you would come to the customer who has this job. So we'll say Adam Bradley again. We come to snow removal for Adam. And then under the job change, you would have the different options here. And you could then add to him the different options with the different prices. So we've got 1 to 3 inches here, and this is going to be, $65. Process, and then you can again set these up given the different price points with this. And you can edit these as if you need to. And then 9+. And we don't have a price for 9+ because we calculate that manually. Oh, well, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. But you can delete these as well. So if it gives you some weird results like that, you can delete them. Okay, so now we've got this set up. So to kind of backtrack a little bit, you go under patterns, pattern job changes. You select the snow removal service that you want to have, where you have the different price points based on number of inches. You set that up here. So now we have the job changes that are available. Then you go into the customer, to the snow removal job, and you set up those different levels with the price point for that customer. Now, when it's time to do these, what we're going to do is, this is going to be crew 21. So let me deactivate what we've got in here now. Now we're going to activate crew 21. Okay, so here now are the snow removal jobs for crew 21. And just to, again, show you how to set up a given customer, we'll go into, we'll go back to another customer just to show you how those are set up again. So Herman Bavink, we go to snow removal. Come here to job change, and then you choose the jobs with the particular price point. I won't go through all of these, but just to reiterate how that's done. Now in this case, I've changed that for him, so I'm going to click Add Job to Workbank. Now it's already in the Workbank, so replace it with your changes, yes. So now it's updated that job with what we've just changed. Okay, all right, so now we've got these jobs for Crew 21, and we're going to record them. So we come up to Record Work. Crew 21. Now, this is going to reveal the potential downside of this process, of this method. So we're going to check all these off that they were all done. We're not going to enter the start and stop times. So we hit Mark Selected as done. And then we're going to finalize them. Finalize selected. Now, this is where the job change comes into play. When you finalize jobs, it creates batches. So this is batch 617. I come here, and for this batch of jobs, I can choose the actual number of inches from the job change. And notice you all see 0 now, but I hit Apply Changes, and now it has put the price in for that level. Now, the potential drawback of this is if you have a mix. Some of the jobs were 1 to 3 inches, and some of them were, 3 to 6, for instance. This really doesn't allow you to be more selective, at least once you get past the stage of finalizing them. One way to deal with that, which again might be a little bit cumbersome, so we're going to go back to daily and we're going to refresh, get these jobs again. So we'll go to Activate Zone for Crew 21. Activate. Then we go to Record Work. What you could do is you could say, okay, these jobs were done at 1 to 3 inches. So you come in, you finalize this batch of 4 jobs. Come down here and do 1 to 3 inches. Save the changes. Then you come back to daily, Record Work, and the rest of these, except for Herman, these were 4 to 5. Mark Selected is done, or 3 to 6, whatever my next level is. Then come down here, Finalize Selected. Go to the batch. Choose 4 to 6. And then save changes. So that's how you could do it if you have different inches being done by the same, on the same route. Again, this is a little bit cumbersome. Now, what we're going to look at next is using the app for this, because this is based on you going in, activating the zone jobs, printing the route sheets, giving those to the guys. The route sheets come back in and you record the jobs in the office. So what we're going to look at now, though, is going to be looking at how does your crew manage this out in the field. So we're going to come in to get the work here. Activate zone jobs. We're going to do crew 5 for this illustration. Okay, so now we've got crew 5 in here. Okay, so now I have my little emulator here. This is the Android version of this, so if you're using an Apple, it'll be a little bit different. For instance, the settings gear here, actually I believe it says settings, and it's down at the bottom on the Apple. All right, so I'm going to come in here. We're crew 5. So here's crew 5, winter crew. And crew 5 will record the work. Now, I don't know if I've heard of a consistency in how different companies manage this. Some companies, the crew does not determine how many inches they pushed. It's done back at the office. And now in this case, you could, or if you have the crew do that, then using the inches as materials, you can let the crew record those. So you come to the little truck and they go to Bob Allen here and they hit start and they do whatever they do to measure or to know the number of inches. They click on materials here. And here's the material, so it's 3 to 6. So they edit. And the quantity is 1. Save. And then they can come back out and hit end. So what they've done is they have now recorded the actual quantity for that stop. And then they've stopped the job. They go back to their list. And they go to, let's see, Josiah Mallon's here. And this, repeat the process. Hit start. Then they come to more materials. And this one was, again, 3 to 6. They can put in the amount if it's not already there. Save. Go back and hit end to finish the job. Now, what the app enables your crews to do is, if you have scenarios where the snow event continues and they go through their route, let's pretend they went through this whole route, then they can actually finalize and reload the route should they have to do it again. So what they would do is, they've gone through this route, they come back to the gear setting, and here it has a finalize jobs option. So they click finalize jobs, and these are the jobs that are there. I don't know how the spring cleanup got here, but they can hit finalize these. So the jobs have now been finalized. And what they can do is hit reload route. And then here are the jobs that have been finalized. So they had some from when I was testing it this morning. So then they can come in here, check those off, and hit reload checked jobs. So now those are reloaded. And then come back. They go back to the truck. And here they are. So here are the jobs. So the jobs have, and now they can go back and go through the route again. So like there's Josiah Mallon coming back on. So that's one advantage of doing is the quantity is default one will bill out every material. Danielle, I think that you're correct. So part of this is I did a faulty setup there. So what you want is to have the quantity for the material defaulted to 0 and have the either, if the crew does it, have them enter the quantity when they go to the material list. And likewise, if you're in the office recording work, then the quantity is entered by whoever's recording the work in the office. So yes, that was a flaw in the way I have this set up. But let's say you make a mistake like that, like I did. What I can do to fix it is I can go to patterns, and I go to pattern jobs here, and I come to snow removal. And so in the pattern here, if I had these set to 1, which I do, I can then hit edit and change it to 0. I won't do all of these. So, oops. Save. So if I fixed all these, what I can then do is check it off here and hit update all jobs. And then that will change the quantity for whatever I choose here to 0. So just to repeat that, so I go to edit the material. I set it to 0. Save. Close, check the material I want to update, and it could be all of them, and hit update all jobs. And now that quantity in the jobs for those customers will be set to 0 where it belongs. Oops. Okay, so that's how you would use it in the app to record jobs that are done. Now, of course, you can just have the crew record what they did. Without having to record number of, the inches or the materials or anything. And then you in the office, let's record a couple more of these. So you back in the office now. Let me go back on crew 5. So here are the jobs that the crew's recorded, but you're able then to do the other adjustments. So you could come in here. If the office is the one who decides how many inches, then they would come in here and select that for the different jobs that were done. So if the crew can decide how many inches, then they can record that material in this scenario. If the office does it, then the office would come in here and record that and record that. So that's how you would do the pricing and using the app if it's tracking, if you're pricing based on materials. And likewise, again, okay, does this also update the prices on customers' jobs if we update all under the pattern? When you do update all under the pattern, and so this is actually a good thing to know about Clip, is that when you can make global changes by coming into the pattern job. So Danielle's asking, if you change those materials, does it update the pricing? No, it only updates the field. Okay, let me think a moment, Danielle. So what you're asking is, if you come into the material and you then change the quantity field, does it then change the price in that customer? we didn't change the price. Okay, that's a good question. Let me go and take a look at that. So crew 5. So here's, let me go to Bob, to the job there. And the thing is, I'm not sure if I had the price set up in his. I might have. Okay, no, I don't think I had a price set up in his account. But we can test this real quick. So we're going to set his charge for 1 to 3 inches at $40. Save. Okay. Now we're going to come back to the pattern. Edit. Okay, so quantity is set to 0. Everything, save. Now, go ahead and close this. Okay, now I did update all jobs. Okay, so now we come back to Bob's house. And it did look like it changed the unit cost. So that's something to be aware of here, is that if you do have a unit cost in, or price, and then from the pattern, you update the material. It will edit that material price. Okay. So let me refresh this. Yeah, so it would change that material price. So just to untangle this, the quantity should be set to 0 in the customer, not to 1. If the quantity is set to 1 and you change it by going to the pattern and change it in the material and pattern and update all jobs, it will overwrite other fields that you've got here. So that's just a caveat to be careful with that. So if you do have to change the quantities all to 0 without changing the unit cost, then you either can go in and do it with individual accounts, or perhaps ask our support team if development can do that, because development is able to do global changes without the global changes that the user or even support are unable to do. Okay. Well, we've covered several different topics here, so let's kind of backtrack or just summarize. So scheduling, there are 3 different options. We recommend zone scheduling, where you manually trigger what goes on the schedule. When you're in daily, you come into the activate zone jobs option. here. And you choose then based on crew or job number what it is you want to activate. And you hit activate and it pulls all of those jobs onto the schedule. The other way is to use the date-driven scheduling, but to do that, you would give it a next visit date, just like you would for mowing or other services. Then likewise, you would get work for that date, and the schedule will be set up for one day between jobs with every day of the week, every week of the month checked, and then the months when you do snow removal. Okay, so then so that's the using the date method. And you can then either use global replacement to change the next visit date. So let's say it snows today and you go out and you plow and then it's going to snow on the 10th. You could go in through the pattern jobs. So let me just come here to patterns. And then in the pattern job, and I'll just grab this one because I know this is set up with a date. So you go to the schedule for the snow, give it the next date, check the box, or give it the next date. Save it. Check the box here and change that date from today's date when it snowed to then the 10th or whatever it's going to snow again with update all jobs. Again, the date driven is not quite as natural because you don't know when it's going to snow. So basically your jobs are always available for you in the workbank if you use that method. So that's the 3 ways for scheduling. Now I've got another question. Is there a way to set up checkboxes for forcing out updates in the future in the detail section of the pattern jobs or individual checkboxes? Okay, so yes, what I'll do is I'm going to make a note to ask development so that in the materials, update based on checkboxes. So excuse me a second. Okay, now so the scheduling can be zone or date driven. Then for different price points, you've got 3 options there we've looked at. One option is setting up different pattern jobs and different services reflecting that. So if you do have like 3 price points, every customer who has snow would have 3 jobs set up in their account. And then you can either, if you've got the zone scheduling, you can just schedule the number of inches that actually happened that event. Or you can go through and you can, when you record work, you can kind of cherry pick. So let me look at that a little more detail because my charge per inch separate jobs are for crew 7. So let me show you one thing you might do when you're recording. Because again, this will populate the workbank with a lot of stuff. And so that can make it a little more tedious to record. But there are some ways to help. So this is going to populate for about 1,000 different jobs. Sorry, I've got to activate those first. So back to get work. Activate for crew 7. Okay, so see we've got all the different levels there. Come back to record work. Give it a moment. Okay. So we come to record work, and if you know that, for instance, it was a 1 to 3 inch, you could put you'd sort by job number here, or you could put in the job search field something that will flag that particular job. So let me go to all here. Again, each of these methods has pros and cons, and having separate jobs set up for the different price points, it can make some processes longer, like refreshing the workbank or sorting by a column or expanding your view, because you're dealing with 1,000 some different services. So here, okay. So now we've got it, all of these set up. So 1 to 3 inches. And for some reason it's still hung up a little bit. So let me sort by property name. Where I was going with this is that you could put in to this field here, say the number 1, if it was 1 to 3 inches, and then it would just give you that number. And if you put in like 9 or 8, it would then give you that range based on what's in the description. But like I said, this is a lot more work in here, a lot more jobs in here for that. Yeah, 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9. So if these were just 9 inches, again, it's not letting me click in there. So oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Just a little slow. And then once you've entered a value there, you just click in the white or hit the tab key to refresh the page based on that value. So here now are all the 6 to 9 inch services. And then you just go through and record them. So that's one way to narrow the results when you're recording work. If you do multiple jobs reflecting the different price points. Then again, the final way to do it, not using materials, not setting up different jobs, is to set up that job change. So that's done under patterns, pattern job changes. You choose the job you want to have the different price points for. So here's snow removal, and then you set those up here. Again, this is set up as a pattern, so you really don't have charges at this level. Those are set up within the customer. And so within a customer, then snow removal, you come here to job change. And then here are the different job changes available to you to set up within the customer. Then that's recorded and triggered for any given visit. So let's come back to daily, get rid of all this stuff in the workbank. And then we're going to activate just those that are set up with that job change. Then under record work, you record them and finalize them. And when you finalize work, it creates a batch. Then for that batch, you would choose the number of inches actually pushed. And here you have the pricing. If pricing needs to be edited, you could edit it here. So now that will be billed out at that price point. The job change you would best way for our snow services are set. Reading a question from one of you, being able to individually pick jobs and recording. I will also ask that of development. I believe that's come up before that. I mean, that's come up again. Because that would make it more convenient if you could just come through here and check off what you want and then do the number of inches for those particular accounts and then check off others and do a different number of inches as needed. Okay, I think that covers everything. So what I'd like to encourage you to do is if you have additional questions, let me see where that went. Oops. Nope. Oh. Here is my email address, so shoot me an email. I can deal with questions on an individual basis. Likewise, we'll probably send out a mass email that this is available on YouTube when we get that loaded. Again, we have another class coming up on Wednesday on end-of-year functions, and then a third class on Friday on contract renewals and mail merge. So I look forward to seeing you again, and if I don't talk to you, I hope you all